For 8 seasons, the world of Westeros kept us guessing, who will rise, who will fall, and who will burn everything to the ground. A story of power, betrayal, forbidden love, and battles that changed the fate of kingdoms. From the icy shadows beyond the wall, to the fire of dragons reclaiming the sky, every character, every choice, every moment shaped a destiny no one could escape. This is the complete journey of Game of Thrones, the wars, the legends, the heroes, and the monsters. So take a breath. In the north, in Winterfell, lives the Honorable Lord Eddard Stark with his wife Catelyn Stark and their children, Robb, Sansa, Arya, Bran, and Rickon. Eddard is a man of values and honor, but he is about to discover that the world does not always operate by moral rules. The story begins with the death of Jon Arryn, Eddard's old friend and the king's hand, who had been protecting the kingdom from unseen plots. King Robert Baratheon, Eddard's childhood friend, asks him to become his new hand, leaving the north to be drawn into the dangerous intrigues of the royal court in King's Landing. Before leaving, Bran Stark suffers a tragic accident after discovering the secret affair between Cersei and Jaime Lannister, resulting in a fall from the tower and leaving him paralyzed. This moment is crucial as it highlights the dangers lurking within the royal court. In King's Landing, the real struggle for power unfolds. Queen Cersei Lannister and her twin brother Jaime fight to protect their personal secrets, which, if exposed, could shake the entire kingdom. Their children are the product of an illicit relationship, a shocking truth Eddard eventually discovers. Tyrion Lannister, the clever dwarf, emerges as both an antagonist and a beloved character. With his sharp wit, he navigates the treacherous court, traveling north to assist his sister in protecting her family's interests, while also showing moments of compassion and justice. Far across the narrow sea, we follow Daenerys Targaryen, the last surviving member of King Aegon Targaryen's line, whose family was ousted from the Iron Throne. Daenerys begins as a vulnerable exiled girl but gradually transforms into a powerful leader. Through her marriage to Khal Drogo, leader of the Dothraki, she faces immense challenges and learns how to be a queen and a commander. She gains both inner strength and determination, starting her journey to reclaim her family's throne, with a promise to become a force to be reckoned with in the battle for the Iron Throne. Jon Arryn's death triggers new political struggles in the capital and exposes King Robert's vulnerability to court conspiracies. Eddard Stark investigates the royal family's secrets and discovers that the king's children are not his, but the result of Cersei and Jaime's secret affair. After uncovering the truth, Eddard becomes the target of conspiracies and betrayal, facing impossible choices between honor and survival. Bran Stark gradually recovers and begins developing his mental abilities and political awareness despite his paralysis. Arya Stark, the rebellious girl, faces difficult situations in the capital but demonstrates bravery and independence, while Sansa Stark learns the art of politics and caution in a world full of schemes. Robb Stark begins proving himself as a young leader, preparing to take responsibility in the north. In the north, a greater threat emerges with the appearance of the White Walkers, a mysterious and deadly force that threatens all of humanity, though most of the south remains unaware. Season 1 shows numerous alliances and betrayals. Eddard Stark attempts to form alliances within the court to counter Lannister plots but discovers that every move is subject to even greater treachery. Tyrion Lannister visits the north to help, becoming a pivotal character in uncovering truths and maintaining a fragile balance of power. Daenerys Targaryen faces huge challenges in the east but begins building her own power with the hatching of her 3 dragons, which later become symbols of strength and authority. The first season reaches its climax with the shocking execution of Eddard Stark after attempting to reveal the truth and protect the kingdom from corruption. This moment shocks the entire realm and completely shifts the balance of power in Westeros. Meanwhile, Daenerys embarks on her great journey in the east with her dragons, setting the stage for an even larger conflict over the Iron Throne. After the death of Eddard Stark, Robb Stark becomes king in the north, challenging the ruling power in the capital. Robb emerges as a young, courageous, and strategic leader, working to unite the northern clans for the upcoming wars. Robb faces immense challenges, balancing the desire for revenge for his father's death with the management of fragile alliances among the northern houses. Meanwhile, Bran Stark trains to strengthen his mental abilities and begins to understand the power of visions that will play a major role in the future. Arya Stark continues her dangerous journey, moving between the north and south, learning survival and stealth skills, while Sansa Stark remains a captive in King's Landing, beginning to understand the deceit and complex politics of the royal court. In King's Landing, the struggle for power intensifies. After the death of his father, Tyrion Lannister becomes the acting hand of the king and proves himself to be a brilliant strategist and politician. He uses his cunning to maintain control of the capital and counter the moves of Stannis Baratheon and other enemies. King Joffrey Baratheon rules with cruelty and fear, showing open hostility toward anyone challenging his power, while Tyrion strives to protect the city with a combination of intelligence, strategy, and foresight, proving that ruling requires more than brute force. Season 2 is famously known as the War of the Five Kings, with 5 claimants competing for power. 1. Robb Stark, king in the north, seeking revenge for his father and fighting for northern independence. 2. Joffrey Baratheon, king in King's Landing, ruling through fear and brutality. 3. Renly Baratheon, claiming the throne as the legitimate heir, launching a campaign to challenge Joffrey. 4. Stannis Baratheon, Robert's middle brother, declaring himself the rightful king and gathering forces to seize the throne. 5. Regional leaders like Balon Greyjoy and other forces, taking advantage of the chaos to pursue their own ambitions. Each king commands his own army, and shifting alliances make every move risky. Battles involve strategy, deception, and betrayal, ensuring that no victory comes easily. In the east, Daenerys Targaryen continues her journey through cities like Astapor and Yunkai, recruiting an army of freed slaves loyal to her cause. She demonstrates exceptional leadership skills and earns the respect of her soldiers and the populations she liberates. Her 3 dragons grow larger and stronger, becoming a symbol of her power and making her a formidable force for the battles to come in Westeros. Daenerys realizes that she needs armies and alliances before returning to Westeros, carefully preparing to reclaim her family's throne. The Battle of Blackwater, the season's most iconic military event. Tyrion Lannister defends King's Landing against Stannis Baratheon's fleet, using a brilliant plan involving wildfire to destroy much of Stannis' forces, showcasing his tactical genius. Robb Stark continues his victories in the north but faces challenges from betrayal among his allies. Arya Stark navigates dangerous situations, gaining crucial survival skills that shape her into a strong and resilient character. Sansa Stark begins mastering caution and political awareness in King's Landing, preparing for her future role in the realm's politics. Daenerys Targaryen overcomes obstacles to earn the loyalty of her army, setting the stage for her eventual return to Westeros as a powerful contender. Season 2 is filled with shifting loyalties and political intrigue. Many leaders switch sides according to personal interest. Tyrion proves that intelligence and planning can be more powerful than armies. Stannis Baratheon attempts to seize the throne, but Tyrion's decisive defense at Blackwater stops most of his advance. Betrayal and cunning appear at every turn, even within each king's army. The season concludes with both victories and losses. King's Landing remains under Lannister control after the Battle of Blackwater, highlighting Tyrion's brilliance. Robb Stark maintains victories in the north but recognizes that his path is filled with treachery and complex political challenges. Daenerys Targaryen continues preparing for her return to Westeros, with her. After the death of Eddard Stark, Robb Stark is crowned king in the north. He gains early victories against Lannister forces, earning respect and fear throughout the north and beyond. But victory comes with its own dangers. Robb faces the complex task of maintaining alliances, managing vassals, and protecting his family while leading a war. Robb's decision to break his marriage pact with House Frey to marry Talisa Maegor, driven by love, sows the seeds of betrayal. This act sets up the horrific events of the Red Wedding, one of the most infamous moments in Westeros history. Robb is a competent warrior and commander, but political missteps remind viewers that even great leaders are vulnerable in a world ruled by deceit. Meanwhile, Catelyn Stark travels between the battlefronts, trying to secure loyalty from allies, negotiate with enemies, and safeguard the Stark legacy. She faces tough moral choices and confronts her own limitations in a brutal political landscape. Arya Stark, still on the run after her father's death, moves through dangerous territory, witnessing the cruelty and corruption of the realm firsthand. Each encounter teaches her survival, cunning, and independence, shaping her into a formidable young fighter. Bran Stark, recovering from his fall, begins to explore his mystical abilities, including warging and visions, hinting at his eventual role as a key player in the fate of Westeros. Sansa Stark, trapped in King's Landing, learns the harsh realities of court life. Her innocence fades as she witnesses Joffrey's cruelty, Cersei's manipulations, and the constant threat of betrayal. She begins to understand that survival requires intelligence, patience, and the ability to read people. The capital is tense and volatile. King Joffrey Baratheon continues his reign of terror, ruling with cruelty and instilling fear among the nobility and commoners alike. His capricious and violent behavior causes unrest, even among his closest allies. Tyrion Lannister, appointed Hand of the King for much of the season, navigates the treacherous politics of King's Landing with intelligence, wit, and cunning. He mediates disputes, manipulates political outcomes, and uses his sharp mind to maintain Lannister dominance. Despite his small stature, Tyrion proves that brains often outweigh brawn in a world ruled by deceit. Cersei Lannister, consumed by jealousy and paranoia, constantly schemes to maintain her influence over the kingdom and protect her children. Her mistrust of everyone, even family, creates tension and unpredictability in the capital. Several assassination attempts, secret alliances, and betrayals throughout the season highlight that power in King's Landing is never secure. Every character must be vigilant, because the smallest misstep can be fatal. Season 3 is defined by the ongoing War of the Five Kings, a bloody struggle for dominance. 1. Robb Stark, fighting to secure northern independence and avenge his father's death. 2. Joffrey Baratheon, ruling King's Landing through fear, facing challenges from multiple fronts. 3. Renly Baratheon, claiming legitimacy and rallying forces to challenge Joffrey's rule. 4. Stannis Baratheon, Robert's middle brother, asserting his right to the Iron Throne and commanding the Red Priestess Melisandre support. 5. Balon Greyjoy and other regional powers, exploiting chaos for personal gain. The battles are strategic, brutal, and unpredictable. Alliances shift constantly, and treachery is always lurking. Military campaigns push characters to their limits, testing leadership, loyalty, and courage. At the Wall, Jon Snow continues his undercover mission with the Wildlings, learning about their society and preparing for an impending conflict with the Night's Watch. Jon's forbidden romance with Ygritte challenges his loyalty to the Night's Watch and forces him to grapple with complex moral choices. Jon's journey highlights the difficulty of navigating loyalty, love, and duty in a world where every decision has consequences. Meanwhile, the threat of the White Walkers grows. Though largely ignored by the South, the supernatural danger beyond the Wall looms ominously, foreshadowing a threat that will eventually engulf all of Westeros. In Essos, Daenerys Targaryen continues her rise as a leader and strategist. She liberates the city of Astapor and acquires the Unsullied, an elite army of slave soldiers who pledge loyalty to her. This marks a turning point in her journey, transforming her from a fledgling exile into a formidable queen-in-waiting. Her dragons grow rapidly, becoming powerful symbols of her authority and strength. Daenerys' leadership is solidified as she balances compassion with tactical acumen, showing she is capable of commanding loyalty and fear in equal measure. Her vision of returning to Westeros begins to crystallize, and she takes steps to ensure she has the power to succeed. The Red Wedding, the season's most devastating moment. During a supposed alliance wedding between the Starks and the Freys, Robb Stark, Catelyn Stark, and most of his army are betrayed and slaughtered. This event shatters the North's power and changes the political landscape of Westeros forever. Robb's victories in battle are overshadowed by political failures and the treachery of supposed allies. Tyrion's political maneuvers stabilize King's Landing temporarily, highlighting his intelligence and strategic brilliance. Jon Snow gains insight into the wildlings' world and struggles with his dual identity, foreshadowing future leadership challenges. Daenerys consolidates her forces in Essos, preparing for her eventual return to Westeros, her dragons now grown into symbols of unstoppable power. Season 3 is a season dominated by treachery and deception. Robb's broken promises lead directly to the Red Wedding, demonstrating that even noble intentions can result in catastrophic consequences. Tyrion navigates the deadly politics of King's Landing, outsmarting enemies and protecting his family from collapse. Cersei's paranoia intensifies, creating dangerous tension within her family and with the rest of the court. Jon Snow's internal conflict highlights the struggle between loyalty, love, and duty, emphasizing that morality is often complicated in Westeros. The season concludes with shocking loss, power shifts, and new alliances. The North is left leaderless after the Red Wedding, with the Stark cause severely weakened. King's Landing remains under Lannister control, but tensions continue to simmer, and Tyrion's influence remains vital. Jon Snow returns to the Wall, having gained knowledge, experience, and insight that will shape future battles. Daenerys Targaryen grows stronger in Essos, her dragons and loyal army setting the stage for her eventual return to Westeros. The season begins with the shocking death of King Joffrey Baratheon at his own wedding, known as the Purple Wedding. Poisoned in front of the entire court, Joffrey's death sends shockwaves throughout Westeros. Tyrion Lannister is accused of the murder and faces trial for a crime he did not commit. The Lannister family struggles to maintain control, as Cersei Lannister seeks revenge for her son's death, her paranoia growing stronger than ever. Jaime Lannister returns to King's Landing, attempting to balance his loyalty to family with his personal honor and love for Cersei. The political landscape in King's Landing becomes increasingly volatile, with conspiracies, trials, and secret plots threatening the stability of the realm. Tyrion's trial becomes a central focus, exposing corruption, deceit, and the cruelty of the court. In the north, Robb Stark has already fallen, but his family's legacy continues through Sansa Stark, Arya Stark, and Jon Snow. Sansa finally escapes King's Landing with the help of Peter Baelish, Littlefinger, leaving the capital with her life but now entangled in new political schemes. Arya continues her journey of survival, traveling with companions such as the Hound, Sandor Clegane. Her experiences deepen her understanding of vengeance, justice, and the harshness of the world. Jon Snow faces the growing threat of the wildlings and strengthens his alliances at the Wall, preparing for conflicts with both human and supernatural enemies. The North also deals with the White Walkers, whose presence beyond the Wall becomes increasingly ominous, signaling a threat that may eclipse all human conflicts. In Essos, Daenerys Targaryen continues her conquest to reclaim her family's throne. She liberates Meereen, freeing thousands of slaves and demonstrating her ability to lead with both power and justice. Her dragons grow larger and more dangerous, becoming a symbol of fear and awe. Daenerys begins learning the challenges of ruling a city and managing political power, gaining experience that will be vital for her future battles in Westeros. Her journey highlights not just military conquest but also the responsibilities of leadership, showing her evolution from an exiled princess to a capable and influential queen. The battle at the Wall, the wildlings, led by Mance Rayder, attack the Wall. Jon Snow proves his leadership and tactical skill, defending the Night's Watch while forming uneasy alliances with key wildling figures. The Purple Wedding, King Joffrey's death shocks everyone in King's Landing and triggers a wave of political chaos. Tyrion is blamed, leading to his eventual escape and pivotal actions later in the season. Tyrion's trial and escape. Tyrion demands a trial by combat. His champion, Oberyn Martell, fights the Mountain, Gregor Clegane, in a thrilling and shocking duel that ends in tragedy, leaving Tyrion to plot his own escape. The Hound and Arya's journey. Arya travels with Sandor Clegane, learning harsh lessons about morality, survival, and vengeance, which shape her into a formidable young warrior. Season 4 is dominated by betrayal and revenge. Cersei seeks vengeance for Joffrey's death while manipulating those around her. Tyrion navigates deadly politics and plans his escape from a life-threatening situation. Arya learns to balance her desire for revenge with the harsh realities of the world. Jon Snow faces moral dilemmas while defending the Wall and dealing with wildlings. The season emphasizes that in Westeros, loyalty is fleeting, and betrayal can come from the closest of allies. Every character must act strategically to survive, often at the cost of personal morality. Tyrion Lannister, from accused murderer to a clever strategist plotting his freedom. His wit and intelligence shine in a season full of danger. Cersei Lannister, paranoid and vengeful, willing to sacrifice allies to protect her family and power. Daenerys Targaryen, emerging as a powerful leader, combining military might with the lessons of governance. Arya Stark, learning survival, combat, and cunning, her experiences make her one of the most hardened characters. Jon Snow, growing as a leader and tactician, facing the dual threats of human enemies and supernatural forces. The season ends with Tyrion escaping King's Landing, killing his father Tywin Lannister, and fleeing the city with Varys' help. Daenerys consolidates her rule in Meereen, ready to prepare for her return to Westeros. Arya continues her journey, becoming stronger and more determined in her quest for revenge. Jon Snow and the Night's Watch prepare for the impending wildling assault, as the threat beyond the Wall grows. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister continues to consolidate her power while fearing new threats. Her authority is challenged by the rise of the Faith Militant, a powerful religious faction led by the High Sparrow. Cersei's paranoia grows, and her attempts to manipulate the court backfire. Tommen Baratheon, now king after Joffrey's death, is easily influenced, allowing the Faith Militant to gain power and begin punishing nobles who defy their moral authority. Cersei's struggle with the Faith Militant escalates, culminating in her public walk of shame, one of the season's most shocking and memorable moments. Meanwhile, Tyrion Lannister is in exile in Essos after escaping King's Landing. He travels to Volantis and eventually meets Daenerys Targaryen, becoming her advisor and learning about leadership, loyalty, and the challenges of ruling a diverse realm. In the north, Sansa Stark has been married to Ramsay Bolton, a sadistic lord who rules Winterfell with terror. Sansa suffers immensely under Ramsay's cruelty, but begins to plot her survival and eventual revenge. Jon Snow, now Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, faces immense challenges at the Wall. He attempts to unify the Night's Watch and make uneasy alliances with the wildlings, who are moving south in search of safety. Jon struggles with loyalty and duty, especially when confronting Stannis Baratheon, who arrives at the Wall seeking support in his campaign for the Iron Throne. The political landscape in the north becomes deadly, as the Boltons consolidate power while the remaining Starks and their allies plan resistance. In Meereen, Daenerys struggles to maintain control of the city she has liberated. Her efforts to rule justly are challenged by insurrections, local politics, and the Sons of the Harpy, a secret organization determined to undermine her authority. The dragons grow larger and more difficult to control, symbolizing both her power and the chaos it can bring. Daenerys learns valuable lessons about leadership, diplomacy, and the responsibilities of power, understanding that ruling is more complicated than conquest alone. Jon Snow faces immense challenges as Lord Commander. He pushes for an alliance with the wildlings, despite resistance from his own men. Jon's leadership is tested when he must confront the White Walkers and their growing threat beyond the Wall. His decisions are morally complex, forcing him to balance honor, survival, and the larger interests of humanity. Meanwhile, Stannis Baratheon marches south with his army, intending to claim the Iron Throne, creating tension across Westeros and testing loyalties. The Faith Militant versus nobles, religious extremists take control in King's Landing, punishing nobles and consolidating their influence over the realm. Season 5 is full of political manipulation, betrayal, and moral complexity. Cersei versus the Faith Militant, a battle of wits, power, and control that ends in her public punishment. Jon Snow's difficult decisions, loyalty to the Night's Watch versus moral duty to protect wildlings. Sansa's survival, enduring Ramsay's cruelty while plotting for revenge. Daenerys challenges in Meereen, learning that ruling requires strategy beyond military conquest. Every character is tested, and betrayal often comes from the closest allies. The stakes are higher, and the consequences are deadly. Cersei Lannister, humiliated and enraged, she learns harsh lessons about pride, power, and public perception. Tyrion Lannister gains experience and influence, preparing for his future role as Daenerys' advisor. Daenerys Targaryen faces real governance challenges and grows as a leader. Jon Snow develops as a leader of men and a tactician, tested by extreme moral dilemmas. Sansa Stark transforms from a victim to a calculating survivor, preparing for future revenge. The season ends with shifting power dynamics and unresolved tensions. King's Landing, Cersei survives her humiliation but is deeply affected, plotting future moves. The North, Jon Snow's leadership is solidifying, while Sansa continues her survival under Ramsay's control. Daenerys struggles to maintain authority in Meereen, learning the complexities of ruling a city and an army. Tyrion Lannister joins forces with Daenerys, marking a turning point in his journey and her eventual conquest of Westeros. The season begins with the aftermath of Jon Snow's death. Through the efforts of Melisandre and the loyal Night's Watch members, Jon is resurrected, returning stronger and more determined than ever. Jon Snow takes command, preparing to reclaim Winterfell from Ramsay Bolton, who has terrorized the North, and Sansa Stark. Sansa allies with Theon Greyjoy and other northern houses to plan the liberation of Winterfell. The Battle of the Bastards becomes one of the season's most epic and visually stunning conflicts, where Jon Snow faces Ramsay in a brutal fight for control of the North. Meanwhile, Bran Stark continues to develop his mystical powers as the Three-Eyed Raven, learning secrets of the past, present, and future. His visions reveal critical history about the origin of the White Walkers and the true parentage of key characters, including Jon Snow. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister continues her quest for revenge against her enemies. After being humiliated by the Faith Militant in Season 5, Cersei uses wildfire to destroy the Great September of Baelor, killing the High Sparrow, the Tyrells, and many rivals in a shocking act of vengeance. Her ruthless actions cement her power but also alienate potential allies, setting the stage for political instability. Tommen Baratheon, traumatized by his mother's actions, takes his own life, leaving the Iron Throne temporarily vacant and the Lannisters' hold on the capital more tenuous than ever. Daenerys Targaryen completes her conquest of Slaver's Bay and sets sail for Westeros with her army, dragons, and loyal advisors. She forms alliances with Yara Greyjoy and other influential leaders to strengthen her claim to the Iron Throne. Daenerys' journey highlights her evolution from a conqueror to a ruler capable of commanding loyalty and respect while preparing for the ultimate battle for the Seven Kingdoms. The threat beyond the wall escalates with the growing army of White Walkers. Bran Stark's visions provide crucial insight into their origin, revealing that the Children of the Forest created them to fight humanity's enemies. Jon Snow and his allies prepare for the inevitable clash, understanding that this supernatural threat could destroy all of Westeros if left unchecked. Jon Snow's resurrection, a miraculous return that restores hope to the North and rallies allies against the Boltons. The Battle of the Bastards, a visually epic and strategically intense battle, ending with Jon defeating Ramsay and reclaiming Winterfell. Cersei's destruction of the September, wildfire obliterates the High Sparrow, Tyrells, and other rivals, marking one of the most shocking moments in the series. Bran's visions, revealing the origins of the White Walkers and Jon Snow's true parentage as Aegon Targaryen, son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark. Daenerys' arrival in Westeros, preparing for the ultimate showdown for the Iron Throne with her dragons and armies. Season 6 emphasizes that power is won and lost through strategy, cunning, and sometimes brutal force. Cersei uses fear and destruction to consolidate power, showing that ruthlessness can secure dominance. Jon Snow emerges as a true leader, combining honor with tactical skill to reclaim the North. Sansa Stark grows into a formidable strategist, ensuring her survival and playing a pivotal role in reclaiming Winterfell. Bran Stark's mystical insights reshape the understanding of history and foreshadow future conflicts. Daenerys prepares to enter the Game of Thrones fully armed and determined. Jon Snow, resurrected, more confident, and prepared to lead the North into a new era. Sansa Stark gains political and strategic mastery, transforming from a victim to a leader. Cersei Lannister, ruthless and vengeful, demonstrating the devastating consequences of power unchecked. Daenerys Targaryen, stronger, wiser, and ready to claim her birthright in Westeros. Bran Stark, the three-eyed raven, keeper of secrets and visions that reveal the hidden truths of Westeros. Following the dramatic events of Season 6, Jon Snow is officially recognized as king in the North by the Northern Lords after reclaiming Winterfell from Ramsay Bolton. Jon's leadership is tested immediately. He must unify the northern houses, maintain stability in his territory, and prepare for the looming threat of the White Walkers. Sansa Stark, now fully aware of the brutal politics of Westeros, works closely with Jon, offering insight, strategy, and political acumen. She ensures that alliances with northern lords remain strong despite past betrayals. Bran Stark, the three-eyed raven, uses his visions to reveal critical secrets, including Jon's true parentage. He is Aegon Targaryen, the legitimate heir to the Iron Throne. This revelation adds layers of complexity to the upcoming conflict, as Jon must reconcile his northern identity with his Targaryen lineage. Tensions remain high as Jon faces challenges from houses loyal to the Boltons and other northern factions, forcing him to balance diplomacy and military readiness. Jon's storyline emphasizes honor, duty, and the heavy burden of leadership, showing how his decisions will affect both human politics and the survival of all Westeros. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister solidifies her control over the Iron Throne after the shocking destruction of the Great September of Baelor in Season 6. Cersei's use of wildfire eliminates her enemies, including the Tyrells and the High Sparrow, cementing her dominance. Yet, she faces new challenges: the rising power of Daenerys Targaryen, political spies, and the threat of rebellion in other regions. Tyrion Lannister, now in exile in Essos, remains a looming threat in Cersei's mind, as his intelligence and strategic mind could be pivotal against her. Cersei's obsession with revenge and control begins to blind her to potential alliances that might strengthen her position, foreshadowing future vulnerabilities. King's Landing remains a hotbed of intrigue, where spies, conspiracies, and deadly plots are as dangerous as any army. After consolidating power in Essos, Daenerys Targaryen finally sails to Westeros with her dragons, Unsullied, and Dothraki army, landing at Dragonstone, the ancestral seat of House Targaryen. She begins her campaign against the Lannisters, strategically planning to reclaim the Iron Throne. Daenerys forms alliances with Yara Greyjoy and other influential leaders, strengthening her forces while preparing for the political and military challenges ahead. Her dragons, now fully grown, are both symbols of fear and instruments of immense power, giving her a decisive advantage in any confrontation. Daenerys' storyline emphasizes the complexities of leadership, diplomacy, and war, as she balances conquest with governance, preparing Westeros for the ultimate showdown. The White Walkers are no longer a distant threat. The Night King now possesses Viserion, Daenerys' dragon, reanimated as an undead weapon capable of breaching the wall. Jon Snow leads a daring mission north of the wall to capture a White and convince the southern leaders of the undead army's existence. The mission is fraught with danger, testing Jon's leadership, courage, and strategic thinking. Bran Stark's visions continue to reveal secrets about the Night King and the origin of the White Walkers, highlighting the supernatural threat that could annihilate all of humanity. The wall, long considered an impenetrable defense, is now vulnerable, signaling that the war for survival has truly begun. 1. Daenerys lands in Westeros. Her arrival marks the beginning of the Targaryen-Lannister conflict and shifts the power balance in the realm. 2. Jon and Daenerys meet. Two major leaders confront each other, forming a fragile alliance to fight the greater threat of the White Walkers. 3. White Walker attack. The Night King's army breaches defenses beyond the wall using Viserion, demonstrating the deadly efficiency of the undead. 4. Northern alliances. Jon unites the northern houses and key allies to strengthen defenses against both human and supernatural enemies. 5. Political maneuvering in King's Landing. Cersei continues to manipulate spies, nobles, and armies to maintain her control, anticipating the Targaryen invasion. Season 7 is a season of alliances, fragile trust, and strategic betrayal. Jon and Daenerys form a partnership based on necessity, yet mutual distrust and differing goals create tension. Cersei continues her manipulations, exploiting weaknesses and creating divisions among her enemies. Espionage and secret agendas play key roles, with every character weighing loyalty against ambition. The looming threat of the Night King forces former enemies to cooperate temporarily, highlighting that survival sometimes outweighs political ambition. Jon Snow emerges as a leader who must unify the North, prepare for a supernatural threat, and navigate the political complexities of alliances with Daenerys. Daenerys Targaryen, a formidable conqueror and ruler, balancing the demands of war and governance while preparing for the final battle for the Iron Throne. Cersei Lannister, ruthless and calculating, determined to retain power by manipulating enemies and allies alike. Bran Stark, the three-eyed raven, revealing critical truths about Jon's heritage and the origin of the White Walkers. Sansa Stark strengthens her position as a political and strategic leader in the North, learning to outmaneuver adversaries. The season concludes with dramatic shifts and mounting tension. The North is united under Jon Snow, ready to face both human and supernatural threats. Daenerys positions herself for the upcoming war against Cersei, with her dragons giving her unmatched firepower. Cersei remains on the Iron Throne, confident yet increasingly isolated as enemies consolidate forces against her. The Night King breaches the wall, signaling that the ultimate battle of ice versus fire is imminent. This final season is a culmination of decades-long rivalries, long-awaited confrontations, and the ultimate war between fire and ice. Every decision, alliance, and betrayal that happened in the previous seasons leads to these final moments. Let's dive into the story. Season 1 set the stage with the Starks in the north, the Lannisters in King's Landing, and Daenerys' exile in Essos. Jon Snow joins the Night's Watch, and the threat of the White Walkers is hinted. Season 2, war expands across Westeros, Stannis Baratheon claims the Iron Throne, and the battle lines begin forming. Daenerys grows stronger in Essos, gaining followers and experience. Season 3, the Red Wedding shocks the North, Stark power is nearly destroyed, and alliances shift. Arya begins her path of vengeance. Season 4, Joffrey dies, Tywin Lannister dies, Tyrion flees, and Daenerys strengthens her rule in Meereen. The seeds of war between human factions and supernatural forces are sown. Season 5, Cersei faces humiliation and power struggles with the Faith Militant, Jon unites the Night's Watch and Wildlings, Daenerys faces rebellion in Meereen. Season 6, Jon Snow is resurrected, the Battle of the Bastards reclaims Winterfell, and Bran Stark uncovers Jon's true parentage. Daenerys finally sails to Westeros. Season 7, the Great Alliance forms, Jon and Daenerys meet, and the Night King breaches the wall with Viserion, bringing the undead threat into full force. Now, in Season 8, all these threads converge. The North is fully aware of the threat posed by the White Walkers, whose army grows stronger each day. Jon Snow, now king in the North, must unite not only the northern houses but also key southern allies. This task echoes the struggles he faced since Season 1, when the Starks were just learning about the politics of Westeros. Sansa Stark, who survived Ramsay Bolton's cruelty and grew politically savvy in earlier seasons, plays a pivotal role in rallying the North. Her strategic mind complements Jon's leadership. Bran Stark, the three-eyed raven, provides vital knowledge about the White Walkers, showing how the mystical elements introduced in Season 1 are finally crucial to the survival of all humanity. Winterfell becomes a fortress, echoing the defense of the wall in Season 7, but now with the combined forces of the North, Daenerys' army, and the unsullied Dothraki. The epic confrontation between the living and the dead is a dramatic centerpiece of the season. Thousands of undead march toward Winterfell, led by the Night King and the reanimated dragon Viserion. Arya Stark, trained as an assassin since Season 2 and having faced countless trials, delivers the decisive blow, killing the Night King and shattering the army of the dead. The battle demonstrates the culmination of every character's growth. Theon Greyjoy redeems himself by defending Bran, while Jon leads the army with the honor and courage honed since his arrival at the Wall in Season 1. This victory resolves the threat of the undead but sets the stage for the final human conflicts over the Iron Throne. After Winterfell, attention shifts to the ultimate struggle for power in Westeros. Daenerys Targaryen, who started as a vulnerable exile in Season 1, has now become a formidable conqueror with dragons and armies. Her journey from Essos to Dragonstone reflects the growth of her leadership, strategic mind, and desire to claim her birthright. Cersei Lannister, hardened by humiliation and revenge since Season 5, uses every means to hold on to the Iron Throne. Her ruthless cunning mirrors the Lannisters' political maneuvers across multiple seasons. Negotiations fail, and Daenerys attacks King's Landing, unleashing Drogon in a display of overwhelming power. Despite surrender offers, she destroys much of the city, echoing the devastating consequences of unchecked ambition seen in earlier seasons with Joffrey, Tywin, and Ramsay. The consequences of Daenerys' actions create shockwaves. Tyrion Lannister, who has survived manipulation, betrayal, and imprisonment since Season 1, ultimately kills Daenerys to prevent further tyranny. Jon Snow, caught between love and duty, must kill Daenerys, fulfilling a tragic arc that began with his loyalty to the Starks and Night's Watch. Cersei and Jaime Lannister die together as the Red Keep collapses, ending their complex and destructive relationship. Sansa Stark asserts the independence of the North, becoming Queen in the North, a culmination of her survival, cunning, and leadership since Season 1. Bran Stark is elected King of Westeros, symbolizing wisdom, neutrality, and memory, qualities built through his journey as the Three-Eyed Raven. Arya Stark embarks on a journey west of Westeros, a nod to her adventurous spirit and survival skills honed across 8 seasons. Jon Snow returns to the North, completing his arc as a hero who prioritizes duty over ambition. Daenerys Targaryen becomes a tragic figure, illustrating the corrupting influence of power. Sansa Stark emerges as a self-made leader, independent and wise. Arya Stark explores the unknown, embodying adventure and resilience. Tyrion Lannister survives as a moral and strategic advisor, reflecting wisdom gained through suffering and exile. Bran Stark becomes king, connecting the mystical and political threads of the series. Power and ambition, from Season 1 to 8, characters who crave power face dire consequences, whether through betrayal, hubris, or moral compromise. Survival and loyalty, the Stark's journey, Jon Snow's leadership, and Arya's survival illustrate resilience and strategic thinking. Justice and revenge, Daenerys' destruction of King's Landing mirrors earlier vengeance arcs, showing the cyclical nature of revenge in Westeros. Unity against greater threats, the war against the White Walkers unites former enemies, highlighting cooperation beyond personal ambition. Westeros begins rebuilding, with power distributed among surviving leaders. The Iron Throne is destroyed, symbolizing the futility of absolute power and the end of the old order. Key characters find closure. Jon returns to the North, Sansa rules an independent North, Arya explores new lands, Bran becomes king, and Tyrion remains hand, ensuring wisdom guides the new era. And so, we reach the end of the epic Game of Thrones saga, where power struggles, legendary battles, shocking betrayals, and unforgettable bravery brought every character together on an extraordinary journey across Westeros. From the Starks rising in the North, to Daenerys' conquest and the fall of ancient thrones, all the way to the unexpected fates of our heroes, the series has shown that power, honor, and betrayal are all part of the deadly game for the Iron Throne. Now, Westeros finds a fragile peace, but the memories of battles, alliances, and betrayals will stay with us forever. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be the first to watch our upcoming summaries of the most famous movies and series. Tell us in the comments, which character was your favorite?